You ready?
Let's do this.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh! It's a boy!
You did it! Oh, it's a boy! Look, where's the paper? Where's the paper? What did you say? Paper. Grandson! Oh my God! I'm so excited! Wow. Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's been a very long time, and I do apologize once again for the delay. This year has just been absolutely insane, as you all know. Thinking back of when I first started doing my TTC journey and when I got pregnant, and I had all of those plans to, you know, keep you guys in the loop and to do all kind of fun pregnancy stuff. I had no idea, obviously, that 2020 or my whole pregnancy would turn into what it has been. Actually reached out to me on Instagram like, hey, what happened? Did you have the baby? You know, because I haven't been around. And I appreciate that you guys care so much to even look into it, to reach out. So I appreciate that. And what you guys just saw now was my gender reveal. So if you haven't gone to my Instagram to kind of just find out on your own, yes, I did have a baby boy. And his name is Noah James Portillo. And he is now about to be 4 months in about a week. And a little bit of what I'm going to get into in this video is my history with eclampsia and having 2 seizures on my first pregnancy and having her at 32 weeks, and how worried I was being pregnant with Noah, that was going to happen to me again. So let's just get everything going. I do not want this to be a long video, and also I'm going to introduce Noah to you guys at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. The last that I spoke to you guys was week 27, I believe, and I was kind of giving you guys like a little update. So just a couple of like little key points or whatever. I was kind of sick throughout my whole pregnancy, off and on, like with extreme nausea. I didn't throw up too often. I threw up like the whole total of like 3 times, but I was just so nauseous and exhausted, because the big question here for me, and I don't know if you guys remember, was I going to have a natural birth or was I going to have a C-section again? Because I've had a previous C-section before. My doctor was, you know how they allow you to try to have a natural birth or whatever if you've had a C-section the second time. A lot of times if you're having, you know, an okay pregnancy and there's no risk, or, you know, there's no, what am I trying to say? You know, like your blood pressure looks good, everything looks all right, then a lot of times they'll allow you to attempt to try and do a natural birth. But they want to do a C-section. At least my provider was with Kaiser. She kind of gave me the whole, well, you know, you could try and go up to 39 weeks, but we wouldn't want to go to 40 weeks because of your history. And in that last week, you have a higher chance of developing eclampsia, which is high blood pressure when you're pregnancy. It's a pregnancy-induced condition. I don't have high blood pressure without being pregnant, but I did have it that first time, which caused me to end up going into seizures, and I almost died. My daughter almost died as well, and she was only 3 pounds 4 ounces. And I did not want to go ahead and risk something, just go ahead and go the 40 weeks, and then something does happen to him. That would be a very, very tough pill to swallow, and I don't know if I could have ever really forgiven myself. So, a very tough decision, because she was telling me ultimately I don't want to go 40 weeks. I want to take the baby at 39 weeks by C-section if he doesn't come. He was doing fine. I felt like I was having an okay pregnancy for the most part. No major issues at all. I mean, just pretty smooth aside from the nausea and being exhausted. I didn't have any major pain. No major cramps. I wasn't even having Braxton Hicks from what I know, which I've never really like known for sure, I guess, but I wasn't even having Braxton Hicks, you guys. So I was just kind of like, but everything's going great. Why would you take him so soon? But then I'm also traumatized from what happened to me when I had my daughter. But when I went in, they noticed that when she checked his heartbeat, that it seemed a little fast, which it had been very regular, you know, the whole time that I was pregnant. It's been normal. So I did, they wanted me to do a high stress test. It's called something else and I can't even think of it. It's like a, oh God. It's a high stress test, but it's called like an NG test or something. And I don't remember what it is. I'll probably look it up and put it down at the bottom for you guys. But when they went and monitored his heart for about 30 minutes, they noticed that it was fluctuating, going up and down the way that it was supposed to be. So we were fine there. They did recommend, since I was high risk though, that I would have to start going to take this test once a week now. But I did get an ultrasound where they would check my fluids to make sure there was enough fluid around the baby. So that was pretty cool, and to check on my placenta to make sure that, you know, it was where it's supposed to be. Was I like 38 weeks, I believe, and another doctor called because who was scheduled to do my C-section was not going to be doing my C-section anymore, and somebody else was. And she was on the phone and she said, do you want to try and go 40 weeks? And then I'm a super indecisive person, so now I'm like, oh my goodness, well, my doctor said that it wasn't a good idea to try and go 40 weeks. She said that, you know, because of this and this and this. She goes, yeah, I agree, but I do have to, like, give you that decision. I have to bring that up to you. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, well, you guys are the medical professionals here. You know, I know you probably have to go ahead and, for legal reasons, you have to give me that choice. So I don't say you guys maybe forced it on me, but at the same time, that's a big decision, because like I said, I would hate to make a decision and have it go the other way and something ends up, you know, wrong or whatever. I started talking to my husband, talking to my mom, and, you know, we were all coming to the same thing, that I had the C-section before. You know, although I want to experience a natural birth, maybe it's a good idea to maybe it's a good idea to have the C-section if he doesn't come by then. Because I think part of us too thought that he might really come in within that 39, you know, weeks, or before the 39 weeks that he would come. It was a week away, and they said, hey, if you don't go into labor, we're going to go ahead and do it on the 39th. I made that decision. I'm like, okay, so let's see if he comes. I didn't have any feeling that he was going to come, because Noah, I wasn't having any kind of contractions whatsoever, although they said that it could just happen like that. Even if you haven't had any, you could just all of a sudden start having contractions. I was very hopeful for that, but also very scared, because I've never had a natural birth, you know? So we're in that last week. You know, I'm monitoring my blood pressure. I have a blood pressure cuff at home. That's something that if you suffer from eclampsia before, high blood pressure when you're pregnant, I do recommend getting that, because you do want to have that peace of mind, and you want to be monitoring, you know, your blood pressure throughout the way. So therefore, if there is something wrong or it is elevated, you can get to that hospital a lot quicker than I did the first time around when I ended up going into seizures. Not everybody who has eclampsia actually goes into seizures. A lot of times it's caught. That's why they check your blood pressure every time you go in to the doctors, every time you go in for your prenatal visit. So we're in that last week, and he's just happy in there. He's not doing anything. There's no contractions. He's moving a lot. He's moving a lot at nighttime. And it just was not going to happen. So, you know, I start making my hospital bag. I start putting that together and everything just in case it happens. And it didn't happen, guys. So the day of the C-section, we go into Kaiser. And, you know, my husband was allowed to come, thank God. During the pandemic, I know a lot of mothers I've read, their husbands could not come in, and that's just beyond devastating. I just can't even imagine. So, you know, I talked to the doctor who's going to do my C-section, and come to find out, it's a completely different doctor than I had met. Now, that makes 3 doctors that I met that were supposed to be doing my C-section, and it ended up being completely somebody else, a gentleman, when I had met 2 ladies before. So now, you know, that's fine, but I have never met him. So now I'm like, you're going to do my major surgery. I don't know. We didn't even get to meet. Like, you know, I'm anxious, and the other ones put me at ease, and I, you know, don't know you. We don't have that rapport. And so now I'm like, great. But at the same time, you know, you put your trust into the doctors, because there's not really much else you can do. You do be very vocal about any of your concerns. Make sure that you are vocal and you stick up and stand up for you and your child. You always want to voice your concerns because this is your life and your baby's life that are in their hands, right? So, you know, he was very thorough, though I didn't have to really tell him too much or any questions that I really had, because he kind of addressed everything, because he was also very worried about the fact that I had eclampsia before. And he was like, yeah, we definitely want to make sure, let me take a look at your C-section scar, you know, and take a look at what I'm working with. And, you know, so that went very, very well. So my husband and I are separated. They're prepping me now, right? So I go in, I get the anesthesia. They get my husband into his gown. You know, it's like a whole gown, like he had to have his mask on. I actually had my mask on right up until, did I have it on while I was giving birth? Because it was crazy, guys. Like, I had it like all the way up until I think I was about to give birth, and then I could take it off. But anyway, so they put me into the anesthesia room, which is also going to be where they're going to be doing the C-section. It's like a bright room. The room is so bright. They do the anesthesia in my back. The anesthesia, the needle that they put in, it seems intimidating and it seems like you're going to be in so much pain, but I barely felt it. Then they laid me down and they started to like put on this like liquid thing like all over my stomach. And you know, I guess I'm thinking that's like an antiseptic or like something to make sure it's very, very clean around there, because obviously they're going to open me wide up, guys. Then they brought my husband in, and it's just all so like very emotional, you know, because we know we're about to meet our little guy, and that I'm not going to be pregnant anymore, and our lives are just going to change, like, you know, in so many ways. Like, it's not just going to be me and my daughter, my husband, and my dog anymore. We're going to have a little guy around, you know? I felt a lot of pressure. So my husband was like not really wanting to look. I remember the anesthesiologist that is with you at all times, you guys. They're your voice in a lot of ways. They're going to ask you how you're feeling throughout the, like, are you okay? Do you feel nauseous? Do you this, do that? They're there, and they're there to kind of be your voice and for you, you know? So she kept asking, you know, how I was feeling and everything. And my husband did not really want to see anything until he came out. But she was like kind of pushing it, like, okay, like, you know, here, like, get a little closer so I can get a photo, you know, and because she was going to take the pictures for me. I would assume that a lot of the anesthesiologists, you know, that's what they do. It seemed like it was very normal protocol for her, you know, to be taking pictures or whatever. But he just looked when he wasn't supposed to, because he thought that he was coming out because of the way she said, you know, go ahead and take a look. And he saw everything all open and everything. And he actually handled it a lot better than I thought he would. But he was just like, I was asking him, like, are they doing it? And he's like, yeah, they're doing it. And I started to get so nauseous, you guys, that I started like dry heaving on the table while he's like cutting me or whatever he's doing. Like, I felt so much pressure. You don't feel pain, but you feel so much pressure. And I just started to like dry heave. Like, I'm like gagging because I think I'm going to throw up. So then my husband's now holding a cup because I'm for sure going to throw up. And I feel like a mess at this point because I feel like I know what's going on down there, that I'm wide open. And the last thing I want to be doing is throwing up, you guys. Like, you know, that's just, it's too much going on, you know? So she gives me, the anesthesiologist gives me something in my little tube that like is in my hand or whatever, some nausea medication, and I felt a lot better. So once that was given, I was a-okay. And then a lot of pressure. At first I thought he might have been stuck because it was just so much pressure. I was just like, is this normal, like, to be feeling this much pressure? And I think he had even mentioned that he was like, oh, he's not wanting to come out. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, please just get him out so I can just make sure he's okay. After a lot of pulling and tugging, all of a sudden, you know, I think I heard my husband say he's out. And then I heard the crying. And it's like, I don't really think of myself as I'm emotional, but I don't cry very easily. And I know, like, giving birth to your child, women, of course we cry. And I don't think I really expected myself to, for some reason. And next thing you know, I'm just crying and my husband's crying, and they hurry up and bring him just for us to see, like this, just like hold him right here, and then they whisk him over in the same room to get his weight, to clean him off, and to do all of that and everything. I was kind of hoping that I was going to get to experience, once he was cleaned off, the whole laying on the stomach right away, but on the chest, but I didn't get to experience that. I don't know when and what circumstances that's able to happen. But the doctor is now working on me and getting, you know, my placenta taken out. My husband go over and cut the umbilical cord. There's so many photos that the anesthesiologist took at this point where it's kind of a bloody mess. Like, you can kind of see a little bit too much. But we do have the photos of him, you know, cutting the umbilical cord, and pictures of Noah just crying, and he's just so flustered as he was just pulled out and taken out of his little home, you know, when he probably thought he was going to stay in there as long as he could. They took us all out to the room right next. It's like the recovery room. It was like right next to the C-section room, or the anesthesiology room, and that's where they kind of settled him down a little bit, and I did get to hold him. Now he was on my chest, and my husband got to hold him, and you know, I don't feel anything yet because I'm all, you know, doped up pretty much with pain medication, and just also the adrenaline of just having a baby. Like, my baby's here, you know. So I spend, I'm going to kind of just hurry this part up, but I spend 2 nights in the hospital. They actually gave me the option after 1 night if I wanted to go home, and I was like, the doctor's like, yeah, some women, you know, feel good and go home. I'm like, no, I'm going to make sure that I'm, you know, all right, given my history and everything. We have all kind of nurses that are coming in. They're very, very helpful, very sweet. They're checking on you, checking on the baby. And my husband was able to stay with me. He was in a bed that was right, you know, in the same room. They were bringing him food. He wasn't allowed to leave either because of COVID. So he couldn't leave at all. He had to stay there. He couldn't go get me food. He couldn't do any of that. They were bringing him food from the cafeteria. So that was really cool. 2 nights with just nonstop screaming and crying. And, you know, God bless my husband. He's just amazing because he is extremely supportive, and he's very hands-on. Even to this day, he's just a very hands-on dad. And he was holding Noah because, you know, I had a C-section, was walking around with him. We were up all night. Like, we really didn't get any sleep. I remember those first 2 nights at the hospital, because it was only 2 nights, but those nights in the hospital were very much so of us just being up and exhausted. And, you know, he'd be crying, and I'd be telling the nurses, like, oh my God, he's crying. And they're kind of like, yeah, you know, babies do that. But I'm just thinking, like, is this how it's going to be? It gets better, guys. It is a beautiful experience. You know, it definitely is. And just looking back at just how everything went, very blessed. We're all very, you know, I fully understand, even though, you know, I do have a daughter, and I understood the gist of that too, but it is such a blessing. Children are very much so a blessing. Now, after the fact, I did feel a little defeated having the second C-section again. I felt like I should have waited until the 40 weeks, but that kind of went away. At first I was very hard on myself. I think it was also because of postpartum. And thank God that did go away for me in about 2 weeks. I did kind of cry a little bit in the beginning, like for no reason whatsoever. I was telling my husband I just felt like crap, and I didn't really know why. But that got better. And the whole C-section thing, I mean, it is what it is. I had the C-section. I made that decision. He's here safe, and he's fine. So I kind of had to get past that. Because at first I was like, oh, I made it. You know, I'll never have a natural birth. I mean, I'm not planning on this being my last child. I would like to have one more, but now since I've had 2 C-sections, I bet you anything that I probably would have to have a 3rd C-section. Definitely want to come and bring Noah now, so you guys can meet him, and hopefully he's awake, because he might not be awake. You know, it's like when you have a baby, it's all on their timing, I swear. Like, everything's all on Noah's timing now. But let me go and see if he's awake. He's with my husband right now. Okay, guys, so at first I was gonna go and like change him and everything, but I'm like, you know what, like, I want to be pretty raw on my channel. Like, I don't want to be everything has to be perfect, because nothing is perfect. So he was just chilling with daddy. He's got spit up on his little onesie, and he doesn't wear mittens usually, but we haven't had a chance to cut his nails in the past 2 days, and they just grow so quick. So this is Noah. He's I don't know if you can really see him because he's staring at something over there. Look, Poo-Poos. Look. Say hi, Poopies. He's always smiling, which you probably won't be able to do that now because it's like he's never over here with these bright lights. He's just staring at all of this stuff. But he smiles a lot and he is thriving. And he is just the biggest gift that I've ever gotten besides my daughter. I can get him to look. Poo-poo. Poo-poos. Say hi, Poopies. He's just staring over there, guys. Say hi. Say hi, Poo-poos. No. No, we're not gonna look. We're not gonna look. We're not gonna look, Poo-poos. Huh? So yeah, guys, this was what was cooking in my little belly. Well, big belly. Everything's going good so far. We're not really going places very often. Obviously, he actually hasn't been anywhere except for Kaiser or my mom's house. My mom lives down the street because of COVID. So, you know, that's been kind of just difficult, just not really being able to be out and have him out and about and getting fresh air as much. But we're surviving. So guys, I want to thank you so much for watching my videos and for your support. And you know, it's just touched my heart that all of the comments that you guys gave me on my videos, and just when I started my TTC journey and kind of manifested this little bundle of joy, because you know, this is what I wanted. I just appreciate you guys being there along the way and, you know, reaching out to me on social media, checking in on me. I think it's beautiful and I love it, and I love you guys, and thank you so much for the support. And I will see you guys in my next video. You guys have a great day, night, whatever time it is you guys are watching this, and I'll see you soon.